is it a rebunking video? Or just a bunking? If the opposite of a debunk would be a bunk. So this is a bunking video. Hi there everyone, my name is Zach and welcome to my channel. Amongst other things, I'm a reenactor and a jouster. And today I'm going to be looking at a list article with you. Quite often when we're surfing the internet, we come across a list article that's about something that we really enjoy and we get disappointed by it. So when I saw this list article called 10 Fascinating Historical Jousting Items, I thought, okay, this one could be really bad. But I was pleasantly surprised. Okay, so this is on ranker.com and they kind of do it a bit strangely, so this list can change in order. You might find it's in a different order by the time that you get to it if you decide that you want to have a look at it. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to, I'm just going to have a look at it and then I'm going to give a few extra points on these. The Taj, or jousting shield. Knights use shields on their left, since that was the part of their body closest to their competitor. True. As tournament armor got more protective for jousts rather than war, shields became less necessary. Mostly true. I'm just going to be adding a few little bits to this, okay? So the shield became more specialized during the joust, and there were lots of different types of shields. War shields could be very different to jousting shields. Shields never actually completely went. They were always used in jousts and things like that. There were some styles of jousts that didn't use shields, or that used a shield made out of metal, something like a gridded grand guard, but they never went completely out of the way, but all good. The jousting or frogmouth helm. So jousting may have emerged as a practicing ground for warfare, it did, but it gradually developed into a spectacle. The so-called Joust of Peace was usually a celebratory game, and it even had its own kind of armor that was far heavier and more protective than what knights would have worn to war. Absolutely. So the opposite of this is the Joust of War. But it gets a bit messy because sometimes they wore actual jousting armor for a Joust of War. Sometimes they wore field armor in a Joust of Peace. As with a lot of things in the medieval period, it's all shades of grey. Yeah, these frogmouth helms, definitely ones like this wouldn't have been worn in war. That's not to say that no great helms were ever worn in war. So yeah, be careful about that. It's particularly these style that we have basically no evidence that they were worn in war. So yeah, good. Chaffron, or horse head armor. Knights were not the only ones who wore armor during the jousts. Their horses needed protection as well. The equine equivalent of a helmet was a chaffron. It wasn't just head armor as well. You could very heavily armor your horses. And in jousts, without the tilting barrier, the fence that goes down the middle, they actually would sometimes put buffers around the front of the horse in case they collided with each other. Yeah, they were careful with their horses, you know. Okay, so here we have the blunted lance. It says one kind of joust was the Gestech, or joust of peace, which was popular in Central Europe. These jousts used blunted lance ends like this one rather than pointed ones. The four heads of the lance end distributed the force of the impact to make the event safer. Yeah, and also it made the tip of the lance wider, so it would be less likely to penetrate into the ocular, or the eye slit. Yeah, and as it says, that was another reason for another descriptor of the Joust of Peace, was using lance heads like that. They would still be sharp though. These prongs were often quite sharp still, because they wanted to bite into the shield, so that then you would get a more impressive break on the lance. Vanplate, or handguard. Pretty standard. They often had van plates made that protected their hand. This was particularly useful because when you're jousting, your lance can actually catch on your opponent's lance, and then it guides the enemy's lance into the inside of your hand. So a van plate is really useful to defend against that. Helmet padding. Jousting helms were the first line of head defense for knights, but they didn't sit directly on the head. Knights wore thick padding beneath their helms. Okay, so yeah, this is true, but it's important to note that this is actually true for all helmets. Generally, the padding was a bit thicker in tournament helms. Helmets for war also did have a lot of padding. Not a lot of padding, but some padding in it. There's an 18th century lance here, and it says, though jousting fell out of fashion in the late 16th century, it experienced brief revivals in subsequent centuries. And we're still hosting tournaments today. So, yeah, jousting has never really gone away. Not with lances like that, though. Worth saying. Gauntlet. One piece of knight's armour has taken on a new meaning in the English language, the gauntlet. Originally, medieval knights wore gauntlets, a kind of iron glove or mitten, to guard their hands and wrists in battle. If a knight wanted to challenge another to a duel, he would remove his gauntlet and toss it to the ground. I think in later centuries, they even, gentlemen would slap someone with the glove or throw it down. Yeah. So the gauntlet is like a challenge now, isn't it? Yeah. And this jousting toy. Children in the 19th century played with tin soldiers. I still play with plastic soldiers. But toys have always been around. There's some really great jousting toys. This example is actually pretty crude. There's some incredible ones for later in the medieval period. Oh, the lance rest. It says, jousting lances were roughly 10 feet long. To help steady and aim them, knights attached lance rests to their breastplate. This does not mean that lance rests were immovable. Historical accounts of jousts indicate that lance rests sometimes broke off of breastplates if the force was hard enough. One of the things that people don't often realize about these lance rests is that they were also to stop the lance from going back out under the armpit, and that's where the impact might tear it off. It's not just a rest to hold it on. There's also force going backwards through it, and it's there to stop the lance from going backwards. So that lances were often fitted with a ring around the back that would lock onto the front of these, and then that would stop them from going back out under the arm with the impact. I'm going to do a video about that soon, so if you're not subscribed, then subscribe. I hope you liked this video. If you did, leave a like. If you want me to do more of these, leave a comment, maybe even point me where I should go. Thank you so much to all of my patrons over on Patreon. If you want to help support the channel, you can head over there and get more details about that. Thank you very much to my knight level patrons, to Robert, to Sirloin de Boeuf, to Carrie, to Knightly_lady, to Seth, and to Weelu. Thank you very much. Thank you all of my patrons. Thank you all of my subscribers. Don't forget to share. I'll see you in my next video. Bye-bye.